Are we alone in the incomprehensible vastness of our universe? Is a question I'm pretty sure many of us have asked ourselves at least once in our life. Well, today we're going to go over two stories that give a simple no as the answer to that question. Alien abduction is the subject for today's video, and the stories I've picked today come from people who say they've experienced alien abduction firsthand, and they do give a considerable amount of details. Before we continue, if at any point you find this video enjoyable, please consider giving me a thumbs up as that will help me out immensely. Let's begin. The year was 1961, and Betty and Barney Hill were on their way home from a 3-day vacation. The night was quiet and the ride home was peaceful, but something strange occurred. As they were driving along an empty road, there was no other car in sight, but a light showed up in the sky, and it appeared like it was following them. When they finally got home, they looked very dirty. I mean, Betty's dress was ripped and Barney's shoes were scuffed. Both of their watches stopped working, and that's not even the weird part. They couldn't remember 2 whole hours of their drive home. What happened to the Hills on their quiet ride home? Startled by the sudden memory loss, they decided to pay a visit to a psychiatrist. In a few sessions of hypnosis, they discovered something that wasn't short of a science fiction movie. Gray beings with black eyes flashed across their memories, and they suddenly remembered being escorted in a huge round metallic disc. I mean, if it's a disc, of course it's round. They remembered the beings performing experiments on them and then erasing their memory. So let's back up to the night of their alleged abduction. Burdened by their job, the couple decided to take a trip. And on the last day of the trip, they decided to push through and get home before a big storm settles in. As they drove home, suddenly a strange light appeared in the sky. At first, it was nothing to worry about because it just looked like a falling star. But with every mile of road beneath their tires, the light would become bigger and bigger and stay right on course with them. Barney, being an avid plane watcher and a World War II veteran, comforted Betty and said that it's nothing to worry about and that it's probably just a satellite. After playing a game of cat and mouse with the light, it finally piqued their curiosity and they decided to pull over to see what the light actually was. Betty took her binoculars out and she really did take a closer look. As she's looking through them, she finally sees that it's not a satellite or a star. Rather, it's a huge spinning object that's been following them. A little bit spooked by the sight, they decided to continue driving, when suddenly Barney decides to pull over again. He got his binoculars and a handgun and ran straight for a dark field, leaving Betty alone. He was completely astonished by what he saw next. The object was suspended 100 feet above the ground, and he could spot gray humanoid beings in its window. Completely shocked, Barney runs towards Betty and he slams the gas pedal. The last thing both of them remember before finding themselves 35 miles down the road, confused and disoriented, was a strange convulsing buzzing sound before eventually passing out. Trying to make sense of the bizarre night, their mental health took quite a hit, so that's when they got the help of psychiatrist Benjamin Simon. Throughout many sessions of hypnosis, Betty and Barney finally pieced together their story. A vessel had landed on top of Hill's car, after which gray beings walked them up a long ramp and into the spacecraft. Once inside, the Hills were separated, taking turns into an examination room. The room had curved walls and a large light hanging from the ceiling, and each of them was asked to climb up on a metal table. During the examination, the beings removed Betty and Barney's clothes. They plucked their hair, they scraped their skin, they took nail clippings, and inserted large needles into their head, arms, and into Betty's stomach. She recalls this as being incredibly painful. They guess it was some sort of pregnancy test. Throughout the whole thing, Betty and Barney recall a being they call the leader, watching the whole thing from the side. And that's the Hill's story. Their story became known nationwide, and it has shaped how we talk about alien abductions today. The next story is a bit more recent, and what's a lot more interesting is that it has actual witnesses. It starts on the 7th of August, 1993, when Kelly Cahill claims to have seen a UFO and beings from another world. Her story is a classic abduction tale, with strange lights, missing time, and strange markings on her body. But like I said, it's a lot more interesting because Miss Cahill actually has witnesses to back up her story. Along with her then husband Andrew, there were 4 other people there that night, and they're all able to verify Kelly's claims of her otherworldly encounter. And because of the multiple witnesses, this case was hailed as the holy grail of alien abduction stories among UFO enthusiasts and researchers. Kelly and Andrew were driving towards their friend's house when Kelly saw 5 or 6 orange lights, all arranged in a weird circular shape. They quickly laughed them off with their friends when they told them about the encounter. But it wasn't until they were coming home from their friend's house when they saw the lights suspended above the road. Kelly Cahill actually wrote a book about her experiences, and in it she describes the light as some sort of window or portal, and she could see weird humanoid shapes blocking out the light from behind them. She says the object flew away at an incredible speed, but they saw it again down the road, after which her memory goes blank. They finally come to several hundred meters from where they remember being last. In the following days, Miss Cahill found strange markings on her body, including a triangular shape beneath her belly button. And she says she experienced significant stomach pain. Just like the Hills, she managed to put her story together through hypnosis, and this is when the alien abduction theory took place. What happened was, her husband pulled over to take a better look at the lights, and they weren't the only ones trying to do that on the road. There was another car pulled over with its passengers out of it trying to take a better look themselves. A tall, thin figure appeared in front of the object, and understandably, Cahill's fear grew. After, several other beings appeared from behind it, and using some sort of force, they managed to knock Kelly over, and that's where her recollections come to an end, but not the story. After that night, Kelly contacted Bill Chucker of the UFO Investigation Center, and he investigated the site of the abduction and even managed to find the people who were there with Kelly. Remarkably, their story matched Kelly's word for word, and they were even able to fill in some gaps. They also remembered being strapped to metal tables and being examined. The women had the same triangular mark beneath their navels. And Bill was also able to find another car that was further down the road in which the passengers experienced the same thing that Kelly and the other people claimed. And their stories lined up perfectly. Eventually, the media caught wind of Kelly's story, and that's when she published her book. But by 1998, she vanished from the public's eye. The witnesses, including her ex-husband Andrew, refused to give a public statement backing Kelly's story. The last time this story was mentioned was in the 2016 reboot of X-Files. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for those of you who watched it till the end. And I have a question for you. Have you seen an identified flying object? Please comment your answers down below. I would love to read them. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye, Darklings.